You wanted an open marriage? Fine. Welcome to the storm you started.
The garage at midnight is where secrets go to die. I was under my '92 Mustang, wrench in hand, oil dripping onto my forehead like tears from a broken marriage, when I heard my daughter screaming upstairs. "Dad's just a loser, Mom. No wonder you want someone real. Chad makes you happy. Let him go already." I froze. The wrench slipped from my fingers and clanged against the concrete floor. Chad? Who the heck was Chad? My name's Nate Granger, and until that moment, I thought I knew everything about my life in Pine Hollow, New York. I owned a struggling auto shop with a boxing gym in the back. My wife Jenna ran a Pilates studio downtown. We had 2 kids, a mortgage, and what I believed was a solid 15-year marriage. Apparently, I was wrong about that last part. I slid out from under the car, my work shirt soaked with sweat and automotive fluids. The house above me had gone quiet, the kind of silence that follows an explosion. My hands were shaking as I wiped them on a rag that had seen better decades. 3 days later, I found out exactly who Chad was. Jenna left her laptop open on the kitchen counter while she showered. I wasn't snooping, at least that's what I told myself as I glanced at the screen. What I saw made my coffee cup slip from my hand and shatter against the tile floor. Chat messages, dozens of them, between my wife and someone named Chad Fox. "Can't wait to see you tonight. Same place? Nate's working late again. He never notices anyway. When are you going to tell him about us?" "Soon. I'm thinking of asking for an open marriage first. Ease him into it." My vision blurred. 15 years of marriage, reduced to casual text messages about hotel rooms and my apparent obliviousness. I heard the shower turn off upstairs. My heart hammered against my ribs as I quickly photographed the screen with my phone, then closed the laptop. By the time Jenna came downstairs in her silk robe, I was sweeping up coffee mug pieces with mechanical precision. "Everything okay, honey?" she asked, toweling her blonde hair. She looked beautiful. She always did. That was part of what made this so incredibly painful. "Just clumsy," I said. My voice sounded normal, which surprised me. "Hey, Jenna?" She was checking her phone now, probably looking for messages from Chad. "Do you think we should talk about us? About where we're headed?" She looked up, and for a split second, I saw something flicker across her face. Guilt? Relief? I couldn't tell. "Actually, yes, I've been thinking the same thing." She set down her phone and walked over to me. "Nate, I love you, but I feel like we've grown apart, like we're roommates instead of lovers. And I think we should consider opening our marriage, exploring other connections while maintaining what we have." There it was. The words I'd read on her screen, delivered with practiced sincerity. I stood up slowly, dustpan full of ceramic shards in my hand. "You mean you want to sleep with other people?" "I mean, I want us both to feel alive again. When's the last time we really talked? Really connected?" She reached for my face, but I stepped back. "When's the last time you tried?" Her hand dropped. "That's not fair." "Fair!" I laughed, and it came out bitter. "You want to talk about fair, Jenna? Fair would have been having this conversation before you started screwing someone named Chad." Her face went white. "How did you—" "Your laptop. Very romantic messages, by the way, especially the part about me never noticing anything." For a moment, we just stared at each other. 15 years of shared history hanging between us like a bridge that was already burning. "Nate, I can explain." "Don't." I dumped the broken mug pieces into the trash. "Just don't. You want an open marriage? Congratulations. It's about to get more open than you ever imagined." I walked out of the kitchen, out of the house, and into my truck. My hands were steady now, my mind clear. In Pine Hollow, secrets don't stay buried long. If Jenna wanted to play games, I'd show her how the game was really played. But first, I needed to meet Chad Fox. Mike's Sinkhole Tavern sits on the edge of Pine Hollow like a wart on the town's reputation. It's the kind of place where secrets flow as freely as the cheap beer, and Mike Torino has been collecting both for 30 years. Mike used to train fighters back when I thought I might make something of myself in the ring. Now he poured drinks and dispensed wisdom to guys like me who'd settled for smaller dreams. "You look like someone pissed in your cornflakes," Mike said as I slid onto a bar stool. He was wiping down glasses with a towel that had probably seen the Clinton administration. Worse, someone pissed on my marriage. "Ah, crap, Jenna?" I nodded. "You know a guy named Chad Fox?" Mike's face darkened. "Unfortunately, flashy prick who owns 3 gyms in the county. Drives a red BMW, wears cologne you can smell from space, and thinks every married woman is fair game." He's been fair gaming my wife. How long? Long enough that my daughter knows about it. Mike set down his towel and poured me a whiskey without asking. What are you going to do? I honestly don't know. Part of me wants to drive over there and beat him into paste, but that just makes me the crazy husband, right? Right. And Chad's the type who'd press charges. Mike leaned against the bar. You want some advice from an old man who's seen this story play out 100 times? Shoot. Don't get mad, get smart. Guys like Chad, they're all flash and no substance. They look good until someone turns on the lights. I sipped the whiskey. It burned, but in a good way. What do you mean? I mean, Chad Fox has been running his mouth in here about his business deals. Big expansion plans, investors lined up, money flowing like water. Mike smiled grimly. But funny thing about money flowing like water, sometimes it flows right down the drain. You're saying he's in financial trouble. I'm saying a guy who's doing as well as he claims doesn't spend Tuesday afternoons drinking alone and witching about loan payments. This was interesting. I pulled out my phone and showed Mike the photos I'd taken of Jenna's laptop. Look at this. She's been planning to ask for an open marriage, like it's some kind of progressive relationship move instead of just cheating. Mike squinted at the screen. Jesus, she's really thought this through, hasn't she? Gets better. Apparently, I never notice anything. I'm just the oblivious husband working late while she explores her personal freedom. Bees, you notice everything. That's why you're good at fixing cars. You see what's broken before it falls apart. Apparently not good enough at fixing marriages. Maybe this one wasn't worth fixing? I looked at him sharply. What's that supposed to mean? Nate, I've known you for 20 years. You're a good guy. Loyal, hardworking, decent. If Jenna can't see that, maybe the problem isn't you. The whiskey was making me philosophical. You know what really gets me? She wants to maintain what we have while screwing other people. Like our marriage is some kind of home base she can return to when she's done playing. So don't be there when she gets back. Meaning? Meaning, maybe it's time you stopped being the nice guy. Maybe it's time you showed your wife and her boyfriend what happens when you push a good man too far. I finished my drink and stood up. Mike, you might be onto something. Where are you going? To do some research. If Chad Fox wants to play games with my family, I should at least know who I'm playing against. The next morning, I drove to Chad's main gym. It was one of these upscale fitness places with floor-to-ceiling windows and motivational quotes painted on the walls. Through the glass, I could see him leading a spinning class, his perfect hair bouncing as he shouted encouragement at a room full of middle-aged women. He was everything I wasn't, tall, tanned, and polished. The kind of guy who probably had his teeth professionally whitened and wore designer workout clothes that cost more than my monthly truck payment. I sat in my pickup truck across the street, watching him perform for his audience. Every gesture was calculated, every smile practiced. This wasn't a man, this was a brand. My phone buzzed. A text from Jenna. Working late tonight, don't wait up. I looked back at Chad through the gym window. He was checking his phone now, probably reading the same message from my wife. That's when I made my decision. If Jenna wanted to play games, I'd give her a game she'd never forget. But unlike her, I wouldn't be sneaking around in the shadows. I was going to burn their little affair down in broad daylight. 3 days of surveillance taught me everything I needed to know about Chad Fox's routine. He hit the gym at 6 a.m., grabbed coffee at the same pretentious cafe, and met my wife at the Sleepy Inn Motel every Tuesday and Thursday at 2 p.m. The Sleepy Inn was perfect for their purposes, a rundown place on Route 9 where nobody asked questions and the desk clerk looked like he'd seen everything twice. Chad always parked his red BMW around back, probably thinking he was being discreet. On Thursday afternoon, I followed them there. Watched Chad swagger across the parking lot like he owned the world. Watched my wife of 15 years follow him into room 237 with her gym bag slung over her shoulder. I sat in my truck for exactly 1 hour. That's apparently how long it takes to destroy a marriage. 60 minutes, give or take. When they came out, Chad was checking his phone and Jenna was fixing her hair. They kissed goodbye like teenagers, all hands and breathless laughter. Then Chad walked to his car. That's when he found the note I'd left under his windshield wiper. I couldn't see his face from across the parking lot, but I watched his body language change. The confident swagger disappeared. He looked around the parking lot, suddenly paranoid, then got in his car and drove away fast. The note was simple. I know who you are, I know what you're doing, and I know where you live. This ends now or everyone else finds out too. I didn't sign it. I didn't have to. Jenna came home that evening acting perfectly normal. She kissed my cheek, asked about my day, and helped our daughter with homework. If I hadn't seen her in that motel parking lot, I might have believed she was the same woman I'd married. How was the gym today? I asked over dinner. Good. Busy. The new Pilates class is really taking off. She didn't even blink. That's great. You seem happier lately. More energetic. I've been working out more, eating better, just trying to take better care of myself. It shows. You look great. She smiled and touched my hand. Thanks, honey. That means a lot. I wanted to throw up. Instead, I smiled back and asked her to pass the salt. Later that night, after the kids were in bed, Jenna's phone rang. She glanced at the screen and her face went pale. I need to take this, she said, heading for the kitchen. I followed quietly and listened from the hallway. What do you mean, threatening note? Her voice was sharp, worried. What did it say? A pause. No, Nate doesn't know anything. He's completely oblivious. Another pause. Chad, calm down. It's probably just some random thing. Maybe you cut someone off in traffic. Longer pause. Fine. We'll be more careful, but I'm not ending this. We talked about this. I'm going to ask him for an open marriage. Everything will be legitimate soon. I'd heard enough. I went back to the living room and turned on the TV, but I wasn't watching it. I was planning. The next morning, I called my old friend Tasha Montenegro. We dated briefly in college before she went to law school and I went into the Marines. Now she ran a successful family law practice 2 towns over. Nate Granger, she said when she picked up. This is either a very good call or a very bad one. Probably bad. I need legal advice. Personal or professional? Both. Jenna's having an affair. There was a pause. I'm sorry, Nate. That sucks. Are you looking to file for divorce? Maybe, probably. I don't know yet. Right now, I just want to understand my options. Okay. Can you come to my office this afternoon? We should talk in person. Tasha's office was everything mine wasn't. Clean, organized, and expensive. She looked good, too. Success suited her. She wore a sharp business suit, and her dark hair was pulled back in a way that said she didn't have time for games. Tell me everything, she said, closing her office door. I laid out the whole story. The laptop messages, the motel surveillance, Chad's note, everything. Tasha took notes and asked pointed questions. How do you want to handle this? She asked when I finished. I want them to pay. Not just Jenna, both of them. I want consequences. Nate, I have to ask, are you thinking about doing anything stupid? Anything violent? No, I'm thinking about doing something smart. Something that destroys them both without landing me in jail. Tasha leaned back in her chair. Okay, let's talk strategy. New York is a no-fault divorce state, so the affair itself won't help much in court. But if we can prove she's been spending marital assets on this relationship, or if there's any kind of fraud involved, what kind of fraud? Hidden assets, secret accounts, using joint credit cards for the affair, that sort of thing. I thought about Chad's financial troubles that Mike had mentioned. What if her boyfriend is the one committing fraud? What if he's not as successful as he pretends to be? That's interesting. If he's using her to fund his lifestyle or if he's misrepresenting his financial situation to manipulate her, that could be relevant. How do I find out? Carefully and legally. We can't do anything that involves breaking the law or invading privacy beyond what's already available to you as her spouse. But there are things I can do? Tasha smiled, and for the first time since this whole mess started, I felt like I had an ally. Oh, Nate, there are definitely things you can do. The thing about small towns is that everyone knows everyone's business, and everyone loves to talk. Over the next 2 weeks, I became Pine Hollow's most dedicated gossip collector. I started at the bank where Jenna and I had our accounts. Linda Morrison, the branch manager, had known us for years. Nate, how's the shop doing? She asked when I walked in. Good, thanks. Hey, Linda, I'm thinking about surprising Jenna with a weekend getaway for our anniversary. Can you tell me if she's been saving anything in her personal account? I don't want to overdraw us. Linda's face shifted slightly. Well, I can't give you specific details about her personal account, but Nate, you might want to have a conversation with your wife about finances. What do you mean? She's been making some significant transfers lately, large amounts going out to accounts I don't recognize. I just want to make sure you're both on the same page. My stomach dropped. How large? I really can't say more than that, but maybe you should look at your statements together. That afternoon, I drove to the county courthouse and spent 3 hours learning about public records, property deeds, business licenses, court filings. It was all there for anyone willing to dig. Chad Fox, it turned out, was not the success story he pretended to be. His 3 gyms were leveraged to the hilt. He'd been sued twice in the past year for non-payment of equipment loans. His business license for the newest location was pending because of unpaid fees. And most interesting of all, he'd filed for bankruptcy protection 18 months ago. My wife was having an affair with a man who was essentially broke and lying about it. I made copies of everything and drove to Mike's bar. "You look like the cat who ate the canary," Mike said, pouring me a beer without being asked. I spread the documents across the bar. "Chad Fox is a fraud. Look at this. Bankruptcy filing, unpaid loans, pending lawsuits. The guy's drowning in debt." Mike whistled low. "And your wife doesn't know?" "I doubt it. He's probably feeding her some story about being a successful entrepreneur. Meanwhile, she's been transferring money out of her personal account to accounts the bank doesn't recognize. You think she's funding his lifestyle?" "I think she's being played by a professional con artist who saw a lonely married woman and decided she was his ticket out of financial ruin. What are you going to do with this?" I gathered up the papers. "I'm going to give my wife exactly what she asked for. An open marriage. But first, I'm going to open Chad's eyes to what happens when you mess with the wrong family." The next evening was Friday night, which meant Chad would be at his main gym until 9 p.m., running the Friday Night Fight Club class that was popular with the younger crowd. I showed up at 8:30, wearing my old boxing gear. The gym was packed with 20-somethings throwing punches at heavy bags while Chad shouted encouragement and adjusted their form. He was in his element, the center of attention, the alpha male teaching the pack. "Excuse me," I said, walking up to him. "I'd like to join the class." Chad looked me up and down. "I'm not a big guy, 5'10", maybe 170, soaking wet, but I'm solid. 20 years of manual labor and a lifetime of boxing training will do that." "Class started an hour ago," he said dismissively. "Maybe try next week." "I won't be here next week. I'm only in town for tonight." "Sorry, man. Rules are rules," I smiled. "Come on, Chad. I drove all the way from Albany. I heard you were the best trainer in the area. Surely you can make an exception for a fellow fitness enthusiast." The flattery worked. His chest puffed out slightly. "Well, I suppose we could do a quick private session, but it'll cost extra. Money's no object." 20 minutes later, we were alone in the gym. Chad had sent the class home early, probably eager to show off for what he assumed was a potential high-paying client. "So what's your background?" he asked, wrapping his hands. "A little of this, a little of that. I used to box in the Marines." "Marines, huh? That's cool. I was going to enlist, but my business opportunities took off instead." "Yeah, I heard you're doing really well. Multiple gyms, big expansion plans." "That's right. I'm actually looking at opening 2 more locations next year. The fitness industry is exploding right now. Must be nice having that kind of capital." "Well, you know how it is. When you're successful, people want to invest in your vision." We climbed into the ring. Chad was bigger than me, maybe 6'2" and 200 pounds. He moved well, clearly had some training. But there's a difference between gym boxing and the kind of fighting you learn when your life depends on it. "Let's start easy," he said, tapping his gloves together. "Just some light sparring." For the first few minutes, I let him look good, threw some slow jabs, let him counter, gave him opportunities to show off his footwork. He was eating it up, probably already planning how he'd tell this story to my wife. "You're not bad for an older guy," he said, breathing hard, "but let me show you how it's really done." That's when he got aggressive, started throwing real punches, trying to hurt me. A left hook that would have dropped me if it had connected. A right cross aimed at my temple. I decided playtime was over. The next combination I threw was faster than anything Chad had seen outside of professional fights. A jab to set up distance, a right cross to his solar plexus that folded him in half, and an uppercut that snapped his head back and sent his mouth guard flying. Chad hit the canvas hard and stayed there for a count of 8. "Jesus," he gasped, struggling to his knees. "What the heck was that?" "That was me taking it easy on you." I helped him to his feet. "You okay?" "Yeah, I think so." He was looking at me differently now, with something that might have been respect or fear. "Good sparring session," I said, climbing out of the ring. "Thanks for staying late." "Sure, no problem." Hey, what did you say your name was? I was already walking toward the door. I didn't. Well, if you're ever back in town. I turned around. Chad was still standing in the ring, one hand pressed to his ribs where I'd hit him. Actually, there is one more thing, I said. I know about Jenna. His face went white. What? Jenna Granger, my wife, the woman you've been screwing at the Sleepy Inn Motel every Tuesday and Thursday. Chad's mouth opened and closed like a fish out of water. Here's what's going to happen, I continued conversationally. You're going to stop seeing my wife. You're going to stop taking her money, and you're going to disappear from Pine Hollow before I decide to have another conversation with you. Look, man, I didn't know she was married. Bees, you knew exactly what you were doing. You saw a vulnerable woman with access to money, and you decided to take advantage of her. It's not like that. It's exactly like that. I walked back toward the ring. You're broke, Chad. Bankrupt, drowning in debt. My wife has been your lifeline, hasn't she? Funding your lifestyle while you fed her lies about being successful. How did you? Public records. Amazing what you can learn when you actually look. Chad climbed out of the ring, his legs shaky. What do you want? I want you gone. Tonight. Pack your crap and get out of town. I can't just leave. I have businesses here. No, you have debt here. Big difference. And if I don't go? I smiled, and it wasn't a nice smile. Then I start making phone calls. Your creditors, your landlords, your remaining clients. I tell them all about Chad Fox, the con artist who preys on married women. I show them the bankruptcy documents, the unpaid loans, the whole sad story. You can't prove anything. I don't have to prove anything. I just have to plant seeds of doubt. In a town this size, that's all it takes. Chad was quiet for a long moment, processing his options. You're making a mistake, he said finally. Jenna loves me. She's going to leave you anyway. Maybe, but she's going to do it with full knowledge of who you really are. No more lies, no more pretending to be something you're not. I headed for the door again. This isn't over, Chad called after me. I stopped and looked back one more time. Yes, it is. You just don't know it yet. I didn't go home that night. Instead, I drove to Tasha's house. She lived in a restored Victorian on the good side of Millbrook, the kind of place that said she'd done well for herself. Nate, it's almost 11 o'clock. She answered the door in a robe, her hair down around her shoulders. I confronted him. Chad? Jesus, Nate, we talked about this. You can't just... I didn't hurt him, much, but he knows I know. She let me in and poured 2 glasses of wine. Tell me everything. I laid out the whole story. The public records, the financial evidence, the boxing match, the ultimatum. Tasha listened without interrupting. So now what? She asked when I finished. Now I wait. Either he runs or he doubles down. Either way I win. How do you figure? If he runs, Jenna loses her boyfriend and has to face what she's done to our marriage. If he stays, I expose him publicly and she finds out she's been played by a con artist. And then I file for divorce and take her for everything I can legally get. Tasha curled up in her chair, wine glass in hand. You've changed, you know that? How so? The Nate I knew in college would never have done something like this. He would have confronted his wife directly, tried to work things out, been the nice guy. The nice guy finished last. Time to try a different approach. I'm not saying it's bad, just different. There's something almost ruthless about the way you're handling this. They made me ruthless, 15 years of marriage, and she threw it away for a pretty face and some smooth talk. Then she had the nerve to ask for an open marriage like she was doing me a favor. So, what's next? Next, I go home and pretend I don't know anything. Let Jenna make her choice. I didn't have to wait long. The next morning, Jenna was on her phone before she even got out of bed. I could hear her in the bathroom, voice low and urgent. What do you mean he knows? How could he possibly know? A pause. No, I didn't tell him anything. He's been acting completely normal. Another pause. Chad, you're being paranoid. There's no way. I knocked on the bathroom door. Honey, you okay in there? Fine, she called out, but I could hear the panic in her voice. Just talking to my sister. Tell Sarah I said hi. When she came out, her face was flushed and her hands were shaking slightly. Everything all right? I asked. Of course. Why wouldn't it be? You seem upset. Just tired. I didn't sleep well. I kissed her forehead. Maybe you should take it easy today. Cancel your appointments. I can't do that. I have 3 private sessions scheduled. With Chad? She froze. What? Chad Fox. Isn't he one of your private clients? I thought I saw his name on your calendar. Oh, yes, he's helping me develop a new workout program. That's nice of him. What's he like? Like, as a person? Is he married? Kids? I don't really know much about his personal life. We just work together. Huh. Well, maybe we should have him over for dinner sometime. I'd like to meet the guy who's helping my wife stay in such great shape. Jenna's face went completely white. He's very busy. I don't think he socializes with clients. Too bad. He sounds like an interesting guy. I left for work, but I doubled back 20 minutes later and parked across the street from our house. Sure enough, Jenna came flying out the front door, got in her car, and drove off like she was being chased. I followed her to Chad's gym. Through the window, I could see them arguing. Chad was gesturing wildly, pointing at his face where I'd hit him. Jenna had her hands on her hips, clearly frustrated. The argument lasted about 10 minutes. Then Jenna stormed out, got in her car, and drove away. Chad watched her go, then pulled out his phone. My phone rang 30 seconds later. Nate Granger. This is Chad Fox. I think we need to talk. Do we? Meet me at Murphy's Diner in an hour. Come alone. Or what? Or your wife finds out exactly how much you know and how you found out. He hung up. I sat in my truck thinking. Chad was making a play, trying to regain control of the situation. The question was, what kind of play? Murphy's Diner was a Pine Hollow institution, the kind of place where the coffee was strong and the pie was homemade. Chad was already there when I arrived, sitting in a back booth with his hands wrapped around a coffee cup. He looked like heck. There was a bruise on his jaw where I'd hit him, and his usual perfect hair was disheveled. Thanks for coming, he said as I slid into the booth across from him. What do you want, Chad? I want to make a deal. I'm listening. You leave me alone, and I'll end things with Jenna. Clean break. No drama. That's not much of a deal. I already told you to end it. But I can do it in a way that doesn't destroy her. Make it seem like it was my idea, that I'm moving away for business. She never has to know about the bankruptcy or the money or any of it. Why would you do that? Because despite what you think, I do care about her. She's a good woman who deserves better than being caught in the middle of whatever this is between you and me. I studied his face. He seemed sincere, but then again, con artists usually do. What's the catch? I asked. No catch. I disappear. You get your wife back. Everyone moves on. And in return? In return, you don't destroy my life. You don't call my creditors or spread rumors or make it impossible for me to start over somewhere else. You're assuming I want her back. Chad looked surprised. Don't you? I don't know. Maybe the woman who would have an affair and then ask for an open marriage isn't worth getting back. She made a mistake. She made a choice, a series of choices, and now she has to live with the consequences. So what do you want? I leaned back in the booth. I want the truth, all of it. How long has this been going on? How much money has she given you? What lies did you tell her? Chad was quiet for a long moment. Then he started talking. The affair had been going on for 4 months. It started at a fitness expo where Jenna had a booth for her Pilates studio. Chad was there promoting his gyms, and they'd hit it off immediately. She was lonely, he said. Felt like you didn't see her anymore. Didn't appreciate what she'd built with her business. I listened to her, made her feel special. And the money? She offered. Said she wanted to invest in my expansion plans. I told her it was risky, but she insisted. How much? $47,000, all of it from her personal account. I felt like I'd been punched in the stomach. $47,000. Our anniversary money. The kids' college fund. Money we'd saved for years. Jesus Christ. I know how it looks. It looks like you're a con artist who targeted my wife and stole our life savings. It wasn't like that. I really was going to pay her back. The new gym was going to turn everything around. Bees, you're bankrupt, Chad. You were never going to pay her back because you never had any intention of succeeding. You were just buying time until you could find your next mark. Chad's face crumpled. You're right. You're absolutely right. I'm a fraud and a failure, and your wife deserves better. So does my family. What do you want me to do? I thought about it. $47,000 was gone. Chad couldn't pay it back even if he wanted to. But there were other kinds of payment. I want you to tell her the truth. All of it. The bankruptcy, the lies, the fact that you targeted her specifically because she was vulnerable and had money. She'll be devastated. She should be. She needs to understand what she threw away our marriage for. And then Then you disappear. Leave town, start over somewhere else, and never contact her again. And you won't destroy my reputation? Your reputation is already destroyed. I'm just giving you a chance to leave with whatever dignity you have left. Chad nodded slowly. Okay, I'll do it. When? Tonight. I'll call her tonight and tell her everything. I stood up. Chad? Yeah? If you try to run without telling her, or if you contact her after tonight, I will hunt you down and finish what we started in your gym. Are we clear? Crystal. I left him sitting in the booth, staring into his coffee cup like it held the answers to all his problems. That evening, I worked late at the shop, waiting. Around 9 p.m., my phone started ringing. Jenna's name appeared on the screen, but I let it go to voicemail. She called 4 more times in the next hour. When I finally got home, she was sitting at the kitchen table, crying. Her phone was on the table beside her, and her laptop was open. Nate, she said when she saw me, we need to talk. Do we? Chad called me tonight. He told me things about his financial situation, about why he really started seeing me. And I think I've made a terrible mistake. I sat down across from her. Just one mistake? No, a lot of mistakes. Starting with the first time I went to that motel with him. Why, Jenna? Why did you do it? She wiped her eyes with a tissue. Because I felt invisible. Like I was just the wife and mother, not a real person with dreams and desires. Chad made me feel seen. I saw you. Every day for 15 years I saw you. No, you saw who you needed me to be. The supportive wife, the good mother, the woman who kept everything running smoothly while you focused on your business. That's not fair, isn't it? When's the last time you asked me about my dreams, my goals, what I wanted out of life besides keeping your world organized? I thought about it and realized I couldn't remember. You're right, I said finally. I took you for granted. I assumed you were happy because I was happy. I should have talked to you instead of running to someone else, but I was scared you wouldn't listen, or worse, that you wouldn't care. So you decided to have an affair instead. I decided to feel alive again. Chad was exciting, dangerous. He made me feel like a woman instead of just a wife. A woman who gave him $47,000 of our money. Jenna's face crumpled. You know about that? I know about all of it. The motel, the money, the open marriage plan. I've known for weeks. How? Does it matter? The question is, what happens now? Jenna looked at her hands. I don't know. I've destroyed everything, haven't I? You've damaged it. Whether it's destroyed depends on what we do next. What do you want to do? I looked at my wife. Really looked at her. She was still beautiful. Still the woman I'd fallen in love with in college. But she was also a stranger who had betrayed our family and thrown away our future for a con artist's lies. I don't know, I said honestly. I really don't know. The next 2 weeks were the strangest of my life. Jenna and I lived in the same house, ate meals together, helped the kids with homework, and pretended everything was normal. But underneath the surface, our marriage was falling apart. She tried to make amends, brought me coffee in the morning, cooked my favorite meals, initiated conversations about anything and everything. But every gesture felt hollow, like she was performing the role of loving wife instead of actually being one. The kids knew something was wrong. Our daughter Emma kept asking if we were getting divorced. Our son Jake just got quieter and spent more time in his room. We need to make a decision, I told Jenna one evening after the kids were in bed. This limbo isn't fair to anyone. I know. I've been thinking about it constantly. And I want to try to save our marriage, if you're willing. What would that look like? Counseling, complete honesty. Maybe we could start dating again, try to rediscover what we had. What about the money? I'll get a second job. We'll pay it back somehow. Jenna, we can't pay back $47,000 with Pilates classes. That money is gone. Then we'll figure something else out. Sell the house, downsize, whatever it takes. I looked at her sitting on our couch in her pajamas, hair in a ponytail, no makeup. She looked young and vulnerable and scared. Why? I asked. Why do you want to save this? Because I love you. Because we have 15 years of history and 2 beautiful children. Because I made a mistake and I want to fix it. Do you love me, or do you just love the security I represent? That's not fair. Isn't it? You said Chad made you feel alive. Do I make you feel alive, or do I just make you feel safe? She was quiet for a long time. I don't know how to answer that. That's an answer in itself. The next morning, I called Tasha and made an appointment. How are you holding up? she asked when I arrived at her office. I'm tired of thinking about it, tired of analyzing every conversation, tired of wondering if my marriage was ever real or just a comfortable arrangement. Have you made a decision? I think so. I want to file for divorce. Are you sure? There's no rush. You could try counseling first. I could, but I keep coming back to the same question. If she could lie to my face for 4 months, if she could steal our savings and give it to another man, if she could plan to ask for an open marriage like she was doing me a favor, what else is she capable of? People make mistakes, Nate. This wasn't a mistake. This was a series of calculated decisions. She chose Chad over our family over and over again until she got caught. Okay, if that's what you want, I'll start the paperwork. There's something else. I want Chad held accountable too. For what? The affair isn't illegal. For the money. $47,000 obtained under false pretenses from a married woman. That has to be fraud or embezzlement or something. It might be. Let me look into it. That afternoon, I was working under the hood of a '98 Honda when Mike showed up at the shop. You look like a man with something on his mind, I said, not looking up from the engine. Chad Fox left town. I straightened up. When? 3 days ago. Packed up his apartment in the middle of the night and disappeared. Left his gyms locked up with notices from creditors taped to the doors. Huh? That's it? Huh? What do you want me to say? I want you to tell me what you did to him. I didn't do anything to him. I just showed him who he really was. And now he's gone. And now he's gone. Mike leaned against my workbench. So what happens with Jenna? I'm filing for divorce. You sure that's what you want? I'm sure that's what she chose when she started screwing around with a con artist. She made a mistake. Everyone keeps saying that. Like she tripped and fell onto another man's Johnson. This wasn't a mistake, Mike. This was a betrayal. A conscious, deliberate betrayal that went on for months. So you're just giving up? I'm accepting reality. The woman I married wouldn't have done what Jenna did. Either she was never that woman, or she's not that woman anymore. Either way, I can't be married to someone I don't trust. That evening, I told Jenna about my decision. She took it better than I expected. I understand, she said quietly. I don't like it, but I understand. I want this to be as easy as possible for the kids. Me too. What are you thinking in terms of custody? 50-50. They need both of us. And the house? We'll have to sell it. Split whatever equity is left after we pay off the mortgage. What about my business? What about it? It's yours. You built it. Even after everything. Jenna, I'm angry about the affair and I'm furious about the money, but I'm not going to destroy your livelihood out of spite. You'll need income to support yourself and help with the kids. She started crying then, quietly at first, then with great heaving sobs. I'm so sorry, Nate. I'm so deeply sorry. I know you are. Do you hate me? I thought about it. No, I don't hate you, but I don't trust you, and I can't love someone I don't trust. Will you ever forgive me? I don't know, maybe someday. But forgiveness doesn't mean we can go back to being married. The divorce process took 4 months. We used mediation instead of going to court, which saved money and drama. Jenna was cooperative throughout, agreeing to every reasonable request I made. The house sold quickly in Pine Hollow's surprisingly hot real estate market. After paying off the mortgage and splitting the proceeds, we each walked away with about $30,000, enough for a security deposit and first month's rent, not much else. I found a small apartment above my shop. It wasn't much, but it was mine, and it was honest. Jenna moved into a 2-bedroom place across town. The kids would spend alternating weeks with each of us. On the day our divorce was finalized, Tasha took me out for drinks. How do you feel? She asked. Free, sad, but free. Any regrets? About the divorce? No. About the marriage? Plenty. I should have paid more attention, should have asked her what she needed instead of assuming I knew. You can't blame yourself for her choices. I don't, but I can learn from my mistakes. So what's next? I focus on my kids and my business. Try to be the best father I can be. And dating? Not for a while. I need to figure out who I am as a single man before I try to be half of a couple again. That's probably smart. We drank in comfortable silence for a while. Nate? Yeah? For what it's worth, I think you handled this whole thing with more class than most people would have. Thanks, though I'm not sure Chad would agree. Chad was a predator who got what he deserved. You protected your family and yourself without destroying anyone unnecessarily. Jenna might disagree with that assessment. Jenna made her choices. You just made sure she had to live with the consequences. 6 months later, I ran into Jenna at Emma's soccer game. She looked good, thinner than before, but healthy. She was dating someone new, a divorced teacher from the next town over who seemed nice enough. "How are you doing?" she asked during halftime. "Good, busy. The shop's doing well." "I heard you hired 2 new mechanics." Word travels fast in Pine Hollow. "It always has. Listen, Nate, I wanted to thank you." "For what?" "For not destroying me. You could have made the divorce much uglier than you did. The kids didn't need to see their parents at war. Still, I know you were angry. I know you had every right to be vindictive. Being vindictive wouldn't have changed anything. It wouldn't have gotten our money back or made the betrayal hurt less. Have you heard anything about Chad?" "No, have you?" "He sent me a letter a few weeks ago from Nevada. He's working at a gym in Reno, trying to get his life together." "Good for him. He asked me to tell you he was sorry for everything." "Okay. Is that all? Just okay?" "What do you want me to say, Jenna? That I forgive him? That I hope he finds happiness? He's a con artist who targeted my wife and stole my family's savings. I don't wish him harm, but I don't wish him well either." "Fair enough." We watched Emma score a goal, cheering together like the divorced parents we were. "Nate? Yeah? Do you think we could have made it work if things had been different?" I considered the question seriously. "I don't know, maybe, but it would have required both of us to change. And I'm not sure either of us was willing to do that until it was too late. I loved you, you know. I still do, in a way. I know, I loved you too. But love isn't always enough." After the game, I took the kids out for pizza. They were adjusting well to the divorce, all things considered. Kids are resilient that way. "Dad?" Emma asked as we drove home. "What's up, kiddo?" "Are you happy?" I thought about it. Was I happy? I was alone starting over at 40, living in a small apartment above my shop. My marriage was over, my savings were gone, and my life looked nothing like I'd planned. But I was free. Free from lies and betrayal and the constant wondering if my wife really loved me or just tolerated me. Free to build something real and honest, even if it was smaller than what I'd had before. "Yeah," I said finally. "I think I am." "Good. You deserve to be happy." Out of the mouths of babes. That night, after I dropped the kids off at Jenna's place, I sat in my small apartment and thought about the past year. The discovery, the confrontation, the divorce, the end of one life and the beginning of another. I'd lost a wife, a house, and $47,000. But I'd gained something too, the knowledge that I was stronger than I'd thought, more resilient than I'd imagined. I'd faced betrayal and come out the other side intact. My phone rang. It was Mike. "You busy?" "Not particularly. Why?" "There's someone here at the bar you should meet. Says she's new in town, looking for a good mechanic." "Mike, I'm not ready to..." "Just come have a beer, Nate. No pressure. Just a beer and some conversation with a friend." I looked around my empty apartment, then grabbed my keys. "I'll be right there." As I walked down to my truck, I realized something. For the first time in months, I was genuinely curious about what might happen next. And that, I thought, was a pretty good place to start. The woman at Mike's bar was named Sarah. She was a nurse who just moved to Pine Hollow to work at the county hospital. She drove a 10-year-old Subaru that made concerning noises when she shifted gears. We talked for 2 hours about cars, small towns, and starting over. She was funny, smart, and refreshingly direct. When she asked if I was married, I told her I was recently divorced. "Kids?" she asked. "2. They're the best part of my life." "That's nice. A man who loves his children is a good sign." "What about you? Ever been married?" "Once. It didn't work out. He wanted me to be someone I wasn't." I can relate to that. When the evening ended, she asked if I'd look at her car. "I'd be happy to. Bring it by the shop tomorrow." "What do you charge?" "For a diagnostic? Nothing. For repairs, we'll work something out." She smiled. "You're not what I expected when I moved to a small town." "What did you expect?" "Someone more provincial, less complicated. Sorry to disappoint." I didn't say I was disappointed. As I drove home, I found myself smiling for the first time in months. Not because I was ready for a new relationship, I wasn't, but because I'd remembered what it felt like to connect with someone who saw me as I really was, not as who they needed me to be. Maybe that was enough for now. Maybe that was everything. I pulled into the parking lot behind my shop and looked up at my apartment windows. Small, simple, honest. A place where I could be myself without pretense or performance. For the first time since this whole mess started, I felt like I was exactly where I was supposed to be.